There are 5 things that I've found that have helped me as I've been away from home for a year, and I'm gonna go over them in this video. Number 1 is gonna be financially stable. Now you have to be financially stable when it comes to moving away. Why? Because obviously you're gonna be the one paying for things and you need to have the money to do so. If you're gonna be moving into a place like a shared accommodation and you're gonna be sharing with strangers, you need to be able to, well, you know, bring up your part of the deal. What I mean by that is that you need to be able to provide your share of the cash, your share of the rent, and all this expenses that you're going to be paying for when you move out. No one's going to be babying you when you move into shared location, and also if you're with a shared, like, people you don't know, it's going to be quite awkward if you start getting on their bad side. Because if you live with friends, it's kind of different. I mean, if you get on their bad sides, you can kind of, like, you know, work things out. But if you're with strangers and you get on their bad side, it's kind of going to be a bit hard to, you know, get over that obstacle. By being financially stable, you're pretty much setting yourself up and, you know, preparing yourself for living alone. You gotta prioritize and make sure you know which one comes first. And in my books, it's rent over food. Why is it rent over food? Well, because if I can get rent out of the way and the bills out of the way, then I have the rest of the money for food. If it's the other way around, then it's not gonna work, because if I prioritize food, then by the time rent and stuff comes along, I'm not gonna have any money to pay for it, and therefore I'm not even gonna have a home to live in. Expenses are pretty much the last thing I'd ever put on my list of financially stable, because expenses aren't really something that you would, you know, you need. Food you need, and a roof over your head is what you need the most. By expenses, I mean things that, you know, would kind of make you feel good, but you don't really need. It's things that you want, but you don't need. And when you're living away from home, what you need is your priority. So remember that. To be financially stable, you need to have food, rent, and expenses all sorted out, and you need to know which one to prioritize first. Number 2, being mentally stable. Now, being mentally stable probably comes number 2 on my list, because if you're mentally stable, you can think clearly and you can sort out problems when they come. First off, if you are moving away from home, then technically you're mentally preparing yourself already. You made the decision, so don't complain. Don't start whining to your mum or dad that, you know, you miss being away from home, which I'm gonna talk about as well later on in the video. You made the choice, so it's your responsibility to deal with the issues. I'm not saying toughen up and be like, you know, completely indestructible, but what I'm saying is that any problem comes, you need to learn how to face it first before falling on your fail-safe, which is your parents or your family and friends. Being mentally stable, I know for a fact that living away from home, you need to understand how to be alone. You need to understand how to be strong, and you need to know how to be focused. Now, by being alone, I mean, like, sometimes you'll have to give up, like, going out and partying with friends, or you'll have to give up, like, even talking to people, because you'll have to stay home to save money, which goes back to financially being stable. Being strong is another thing. Like, if things don't work out for you the way that you planned it in your head, you need to be able to be strong to counter everything you face. I mean, you can't just expect things to go your way all the time. And being focused is one of the most important things. I mean, if you're moving away from home to study for uni, you need to be focused and you need to be ready to tackle uni. Not only that, but you need to be focused and ready to tackle the adult world, technically. You're gonna be paying bills and stuff, and you're gonna be whining, it's not gonna help. Also, if you're focused, you'll be able to sort out things faster. You'll know what to prioritize, which also falls back on financially stable. Number 3, it's kind of like a tiny one, but I do, like, put this in there. It's being physically stable. Now, being physically stable is kind of like being, like, physically stable health-wise and endurance-wise. For me, I don't have a car where I live at the moment. Back home I do, so I could always just drive to the shop and buy my stuff and shove it in the car. Here, I can't do that. So what I have to do is pretty much catch the bus or catch the train to whatever, or even walk to the shopping center just to get my food and groceries, and I have to walk home. So I have to walk home carrying these bags myself. Now, you might not think that that's a real big thing, but especially, like, if you're not used to it and you're used to just driving around and being lazy all the time, carrying bags can be a burden. Especially when you've got uni on your mind, you've got bills on your mind. It's kind of annoying to have to put your body under physical stress as well. Number 4, you have to be aware and prepared. And what I mean is not just the 3 that I've covered earlier, but you need to be aware and prepared for things that the adult world will throw at you. If you're moving into a new home, you need to have IDs, documents, you need to have all this stuff arranged and pretty much prepared if you are, or in case you have to move somewhere else. If you're moving into a new place, or if you're moving out of an old place, into like shared accommodation or something, you need to make sure that you can provide, you know, the real estate agents with all your documents, with all legit documents, with all photographic documents, you know, IDs and things like that, just to make the process a little smoother. If you can't come up with those things, then it's going to be very, very hard for you to make that process. That process is really stressful too, so it's going to fall back on your mentality and your physicality of how you deal with stuff. And the last one is probably one of the like important ones as well. Actually, they're all important, but this is one of my faves. Sacrifice and support. Just because you're moving away from home does not mean you've cut yourself off from the outside world. You're moving away to study or to focus on your life, and you're moving into a new house or into a new home or with strangers or whatever. But it does not mean you've cut off the rest of the world. You still have your family back at home, you still have your friends back at home. Heck, you might even have friends in the area that you're moving in. So they're always gonna be around you and ready to pick up the phone and, you know, just call them for help if you ever need it. I hope this has helped anyone out there who's actually moving or relocating or planning to study elsewhere for uni. If it didn't help you, then I'm sorry, I guess I didn't answer your questions, but you can always email me a question and I can try to answer it in the next Uni 101 video. This is how I survive, and this is how I have been surviving the whole time I've been here. So if you're out there and you're planning to move, good luck with your move. Let me know how it goes if you feel like telling me at all, or maybe not, I don't care. I just hope that you have a good time when you move, and I hope that all of these things that I've told you about helps you. If it doesn't, then well, I failed.